several years ago, Madonna came out. I think it was 20 years ago. She came out and she had these ripped guns. She was ripped to shreds. And they said, "Oh, what's this new workout routine you've got?" And she's like, "Yoga." And they're like, "That's it?" And she's like, "That's it." And frankly, I believe her because some yoga practices are somewhat rigorous. There's Ashtanga yoga, which I think she was practicing, and but some is restorative. Ultimately, that's the asana practice, which is just one facet of yoga. Ultimately, yoga is about balance and about how you balance the active with the passive, and also balancing the mind and body. So this is something that is for anybody who thinks that yoga is wimpy. This is something that a lot of people, when they first start a yoga practice, might say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that holding a posture for a long time is actually really hard." So one thing a lot of people um, will do in a beginning asana practice, beginning yoga practice, is what they call chatturanga. And if you have an instructor that calls for that and you see other people doing it, lots of times you might want to do it, but maybe not have the strength to do so. And maybe your ego tells you that you need to do that so you don't prove to anybody else that you're wimpy. And that's later. But this is something that you can do at home, and it helps you achieve some of those muscles without sustaining any injury. And if you notice that if you even do a push-up, lots of times you're really jarring your shoulder, and you're also hurting your wrists. I mean, I know, like, I hate push-ups, but chaturanga push-ups, when you do them a certain way, you actually feel the strength. And this is what we're going to be doing. So what people do, if you look at the chaturanga deconstructed video, um, they will actually hunch their shoulders up. But you want to think about bringing your shoulders down. And actually, you want to think about really pressing. And if you think about what happens when you press, you don't want to collapse. You want to think strong and keep the shoulder in its socket throughout the whole movement. So you think about when you come down and come back up, the shoulder is not coming up like this. It's slowly coming down. And again, your elbow is going to be coming towards your ribs. And so that's why you move forward a little bit and then you come down. So lots of times what people will do is they won't move their wrists, they won't move their shoulders before their wrists, and then their elbows kind of splay out like this. So then they're coming down like this, which is actually kind of unstable. It's probably jarring a little bit too much of your triceps. But what I like to do is really think about where you are in your posture. And one way that you can practice is taking your hands. So think about your hand position. And chaturanga, my hands are a little bit facing out because, as you can see, my elbow to my wrist, it doesn't go straight. It's not straight. And I mean, I'm not deformed or anything. We all have a different type of carrying angle. And so it would make no sense for me to have my wrist in front of my elbow, because then it's creating an internal rotation of my shoulder. So if you think, if you have your wrist out slightly, so the wrist elbow angle is a little bit further out, then your shoulder can stay where it is. So ultimately, this needs to be stable. Okay. And so if it helps to have your hands slightly further apart than where your elbow is going to be, then that might help as well. And also, I like to twist my hand just a little bit out to the side, and that helps as well. So we're going to do this one where we're really going to engage more of the shoulders, the delts, and the biceps, and you'll see it. So I'm going to do it on my knees. And here is, your hands will be about 10 and 2, like you're driving a car, learning how to drive. And then your hips are a little bit further away from your knees, because ultimately you're going to be coming down. All right? So you position your hands. Again, your shoulder, your elbow, and your wrist might not be directly on top of one another. But the shoulder, in terms of moving this way, the shoulder is probably going to start on top of your wrist in this plane. Okay? But ultimately, what you're going to do is you're going to move forward. Okay? So what happens is you move forward, so the shoulders move past the wrist, and then you come down. And then the elbow moves back. And then you come back up. So this is a chatturanga, essentially. You come down. So again, you want to think about, as you're coming down, putting the shoulder into its socket and keeping it there as you're coming through the movement. And then as you're coming out, and then you release. The other thing you want to think about, even in a standard chaturanga pose, when your fingers are like this, you want to alleviate the pressure in your outer wrist, because there's like little bones in there that are very weak. So your forearms are going to do a lot of work, and your fingers are going to be doing a lot of work. So really think about it. I know a lot of practices don't do enough wrist warm-ups. So even if you do a yoga practice and they're doing cat and cows, I'm doing anything but a cat and cow. I'm usually moving my wrists and just trying to get some synovial fluid into my wrists. But you also think about these little pop-ups right here in a beginning part of a yoga class, and that's going to help activate some of these muscles in your forearms. And bicep curls sometimes help, but we don't have any bicep. I don't have any barbells in front of me or dumbbells in front of me. So again, 10 and 2, about. And then let's come forward, and I'm going to come down for a count of 10. So you come down, think about the elbows towards your ribs, and then the hands, so an internal rotation with your hands, external rotation with your shoulders, and think about using the palms to push your chest forward. So again, rather than collapsing in your shoulders, you want to think about really pressing away and then come up. So so you think about trying to bring your chest forward even when you're in the bent position. You're trying to think this way. So we'll do this again. We have 30-second rest. So let's come forward. Shoulders a little bit beyond the wrist. You come down. So then the shoulders are in external rotation. And then the forearms are in internal rotations, because you're pressing with your thumb and your fingers, the inside of your hands. Again, you're keeping your shoulders in their socket. And then come on up. So it's a lot on your hands. But again, if you're in a straight chaturanga, sometimes what happens is you put a little too much pressure into your wrists, and that sometimes doesn't feel too good. So we go again. It's through, come down, shoulders away from your ears. Come on down. Elbows coming into your wrists, your ribs. Think about pressing in with your palms, pressing your chest away, trying to move your full body forward without bringing your shoulders out of joint. And then come on up. So, how's that feel? So you can practice that as much as you like, as little as you like. I like to just do that, just where I feel like it. So use that to strengthen anything that you do, whether it is yoga or whether it's anything in the gym. It'll keep you strong, keep your shoulders strong, keep your arms strong. So, have a good day.